Now we're nervous. Oh, camera's on. Oh no.
Oh no. Oh no, it's terrible.
So how environmentally friendly is teletherapy?
Ooh, Jen, what do you think? How environmentally friendly is teletherapy?
Well, to be honest, I actually think it is pretty environmentally friendly because there's a lot of things involved in face-to-face therapy that you don't have to worry about, like the petrol to drive to the center, or the amount of laminate we use to laminate and cut our materials, and then having all that leftover plastic. So I think in many ways teletherapy is actually more environmentally friendly than that face-to-face.
Exactly. The question I had in my head, right, was how much less printing are you doing? I'm thinking with face-to-face, I probably did 90% more printing of materials than I am now in teletherapy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least 90% more. You know, it's a rare thing. I suppose I might print a report and post it off, but everything else I'm emailing materials, and most families are using the materials on their computers. Some are printing them off and using them there, so you still have that little bit of paper and ink. But for the most part, everybody's using stuff online.
Yeah, and you know how often some parents, you just know, they put it in the cubbyhole in the car and it didn't actually see the light of day. So I wonder how many trees were sacrificed for the fact that we printed out home programs that never were really used in some cases. Or, you know, our travel is a lot less, but I think clients are traveling.
Yeah.
Not at all, you know, and the amount of savings that is for them, you know, from a cost perspective, but from an environmental perspective, we're not driving, they're not driving. It's just a no-brainer from that sense.
Absolutely.
And I find that I email a lot of reports and things like that, so that wouldn't have usually have happened, but it's been great from that perspective.
Yeah, I actually think even going forward for whenever we're back that face-to-face, that things like home programs and homework, I'll probably more likely email it to people than print it and hand it to them in the future. Just I think from a environmental perspective, it makes more sense. And then it's something that they have a copy of and they can always reprint it if they need it, rather than us providing it over and over and over again. Or, you know, if the dog destroys their homework, they've got another copy ready to go. Or they can choose to use it on an iPad or their computer rather than having it as paper-based.
Yeah, because it's been great, something like boom cards, for example, to send them the fast pin and that can actually play that same thing that you practiced at home has been fantastic.
Yeah.
So I think even if people were doing face-to-face, the boom cards are actually a great thing to use.
Yeah.
And because a lot of the kids can actually play it themselves, their learning is so much more direct, because if a child is really experiencing clicking on it and thinking on it, that learning is more concise than watching somebody.
They're learning it for themselves because they're doing it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I even find that especially with my more seasoned teletherapy kiddos, they're getting more and more interested in being in charge of the remote control and using the boom card for themselves rather than having to tell me what to do. They're getting really confident in that use of the boom card. So I like to give those as homework because it's a really easy way for the kids to participate.
And even the dice. You know, somebody said to me, "Oh, I couldn't play the game because I didn't have dice." I'm like, you know that Google has dice, right?
Now.
And there's also an app for that. It's just amazing where things have gone with therapy. Yeah. So it's really like, probably the main message is like, save the trees, go Telepractice.
Yay!
That's good enough. If you have any questions,
Give us a call.
send in your questions and we'll try our best to answer them.